What a fantastic intro. I want to thank Chris Gates, our producer at Georgia Alabama Sports Live, for making that intro. This is the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge. We are presented by Georgia Alabama Sports Live. You can catch an episode Monday through Friday on WQEE. That is a radio station up in Noonan, Georgia on 99.1 FM. The Key. That's what it's called. I've been on that station for about 2.5 years now. I want to thank Ryan O'Neill, the station manager, for giving me that platform to air a local sports talk show 5 days a week on WQEE. Got a lot to get into later on in the show. I'm going to have a treat for you. As I had Brian Stubbs on, we were talking about the Southeast Regional Championship for golf, because golf is very big in the Fountain City. He got me in touch with Ben Carr, who is a Columbus High graduate who played in the Masters and in the U.S. Open last season, and he is currently on the PGA Tour, and he is going to share his story. I'm excited to have Ben Carr on the show, but let's go ahead and get right into the headline. If you missed it, the United States advances to the semifinals where they will take on Serbia. They defeat Brazil. I mean, it wasn't even competitive. 122-87. This was a complete blowout, complete domination. Devin Booker had 18 points. I mean, you got to remember, Joel Embiid was shooting threes. I think that it was probably Joel Embiid's best game as an Olympian, and they will take on a very tough Serbia team. I want to remind you that when Nikola Jokic is in the game, when they were playing Serbia in group play, it was tied. His plus-minus, there's a reason why he's the MVP. France was able to beat Canada, and now France has silenced the critics. I mean, Dylan Brooks, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, they were talking a lot saying that they wanted the United States. They had to get by France first. And France now has an opportunity to avenge their loss against Germany. Germany got by Greece, and so then there were four. As Germany takes on France, United States takes on Serbia. The winners of those games will be playing in the gold medal match, and the losers will be playing in the bronze medal match. So somehow, some way, the United States, they have an opportunity to right the ship and get that gold. And that is the ultimate goal for United States basketball. On the women's side, they are taking on Nigeria in the quarterfinals. And they have been about their business. They've won 8 straight gold medals. The United States women's team, they don't want to hear the chirping. They don't want to hear, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese should have been on the team. But I'll be honest with you, the viewership and the attendance, it would have improved if Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese were on the team. I've covered sports in the last 2 weeks, especially with the Olympics. I haven't mentioned Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese on my show. I know that when the WNBA returns, we'll have plenty of time to talk about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. It dominated the airwaves on my show, and that's pretty much what I've done. I want to tell you, the focal point of this show, as you saw the graphic that I put up to start the show, starting on August the 13th, the Sports Beat will be on a new platform. It will be featured on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. I still have my show 5 days a week. It will be on the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Facebook page and YouTube channel. I want to thank Thrift Behringer for giving me this platform to showcase the show that I've had for 4 years. It's just going to be a different audience. The primary focal point of that show will be a scoreboard show. On Tuesdays, I'm going to recap all the local sports that happened over the weekend. I will dive into Major League Baseball, college football, the NFL, but I won't go into too depth because Thrift Barringer and I do have our Georgia Alabama Sports live shows. But I'll talk about any local events happening around the Chattahoochee Valley. And then on Wednesday's show, I might even have a guest on. And then Thursday's show is going to be a preview show for the weekend. So every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at noon, I'll go about 15 to 20 minutes. The Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge scoreboard show right here on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. But I will continue having a hour-long show on Mondays talking about the recap of the weekend and just having just some of that content that you end up missing. And then Friday show, we'll probably have a guest and we'll probably air some Georgia Alabama Sports Live shows. And we also have the Calvary Coaches Show. If you missed it, on Monday, we had Coach Emmanuel Brunson on, and we also had one of his assistant coaches. And then tonight at 7 is the debut of the Harris County Coaches Show with Rick Beach from Kutsu Sports, as he is interviewing Coach Brandon Jenkins of the softball team, as they've got a big game going up against Columbus High on Wednesday at Columbus. By the way, Columbus gets the 12-7 victory over Marion County. And we also have Northside taking on South Paulding on Friday, as we are already into volleyball and softball for Muskogee County and for the GIAA schools like Calvary, Brookstone, and Pacelli. Speaking of Pacelli softball, they had a ribbon-cutting ceremony at their softball field as they took on Manchester. Congratulations to the Pacelli Lady Vikings as they are building back that softball program that has not been around for a decade. Looking forward to that rivalry with Brookstone and Calvary. And it's very unique in the GIAA and in the GHSA that we do have softball in the fall. The Shaw Lady Raiders, they started their season getting an 18-0 victory over the Spencer Lady Green Wave. They did have a dedication ceremony for their softball field. It'll be named Debbie Ball Field, and this is honor of Hall of Famer softball coach, the mother of Glenwood head basketball coach Dusty Perdue. So congratulations to the Ball, the Perdue family. That is just a great accomplishment. She is a member of the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame. Just like Coach Perdue, he was part of that 2024 class. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about that coaches poll that did come out yesterday, because I do have an opinion on the coaches poll. No surprise, Georgia is number one. I do think that out of all the top 10 teams, they will be tested the most, because Clemson, even though they are not the Clemson of old, they're not that team like with Deshaun Watson or Trevor Lawrence that would play in the college football playoff and win national championships. They have dropped off slightly. Not completely slightly. I still think that they are one of the favorites to win the ACC. This is going to be a test, because the last time these two teams played, it was 2021, and Georgia won that game 10-3 on a pick six by Braden Smith. Got the Smiths wrong. So Clemson, they got their quarterback back, Cade Klubnik, and Dabo Swinney. You know, he does want to continue to improve, but can Dabo Swinney embrace the transfer portal? Ohio State at number 2. Some people thought Ohio State should be the number 1 team, but I still think there is a question mark at quarterback. Will Howard, the transfer from Kansas State, is a good quarterback, but so was Kyle McCord. He's now at Syracuse. I know Jonathan Hoppe has got to be happy about that. Kyle McCord actually won a game for Ohio State last year when they were playing Notre Dame in South Bend. I don't think there's a tremendous drop at quarterback. And they did lose Marvin Harrison Jr. to the NFL. They do have Emeka Ibuka, very good wide receiver. He is going to be a first-round pick. And the running back duo of Travion Henderson and Quishon Junkins. And they also have one of the best defenses in college football. I think the X factor for Ohio State is Chip Kelly running that offense. How scary is that going to be that Chip Kelly is now the offensive coordinator at Ohio State. It kind of reminds me when Charlie Weiss was the defensive coordinator at Florida. Kind of had that same feel, doesn't it? Anyway, number 3, Oregon. I love what Dan Lanning's doing at Oregon. They got Dylan Gabriel, a transfer from Oklahoma. Oregon is now in the Big Ten. Get ready for that matchup between Ohio State and Oregon. Still think these are all college football playoff teams. Texas is number 4 in the coaches poll. Very interested to see what the AP poll looks like, if it's going to be any different. Texas, of course, getting Quinn Ewers back. Sark in his 3rd year made it to the college football playoff last year, lost to Washington. Interested to see what Texas does. At Alabama, that's the biggest mystery because I know that Kalen DeBoer is a good coach. How much of a drop-off are they going to have from Nick Saban to Kalen DeBoer, or is there even going to be a drop-off? Because I do think that Kalen DeBoer might be more explosive offensively, especially when you're getting Jalen Milroe back. Number 6, Ole Miss. It's put up or shut up time for Lane Kiffin. You got Jackson Dart. You got those talented receivers. You have your best team. If you don't make the college football playoff, if you don't compete for an SEC championship, they might just blow it up. And Lane Kiffin might go after Florida if they end up firing Billy Napier, which I still think, Florida, they have a very tough schedule, but I think that he's a good coach. I don't think they should fire him. But number 7, Notre Dame. I'm very impressed what Notre Dame has done, especially in the recruiting trail. The defending national champions, Michigan, who's under scrutiny with the whole scandal, not just the cheating scandal, but Sharon Moore, he's taken over for a program. They lost J.J. McCarthy. They lost Blake Corum, but they still got a very good defense. Number 9, Penn State. James Franklin is a great coach, but how many times has Penn State had 2 losses on the regular season, losing to Ohio State and Michigan? And then finally, number 10, Florida State. Their new coach, DJ Uiagalelei. And they also have Mike Norvell. Imagine if Florida State wanted to get rid of Mike Norvell after those first couple of years. Florida State, who lost a lot of players to the NFL, they're going to be one of the teams I think that could win the ACC and try to get that automatic bid. So that is the coaches poll. I cannot wait for college football. We are a couple of weeks away from the start of week 0. Some of the local teams in action. Well, we got one, Georgia Tech, going to be playing Florida State in Ireland. Then they got to turn around on a short week and play Georgia State on August the 31st, and the debut of head football coach of Georgia State, Dell McGee. That is going to be absolutely great. I can't wait for that. Like I mentioned, Georgia plays Clemson. Auburn takes on Alabama A&M at 7:30 on the Plains. Alabama takes on the Hilltoppers of Western Kentucky at 7 o'clock in Tuscaloosa. Locally around the surrounding areas, I do want to talk FBS schools, FCS schools. Troy is hosting Nevada. We also got UAB, Trent Dilfer's 2nd year. They are taking on Alcorn State at Progressive Field. West Georgia making their FCS debut. They are hosting Samford on August the 31st, August the 29th. Mercer is taking on Presbyterian. And locally here in the Chattahoochee Valley, the LaGrange Panthers is going to be on the road taking on East Texas Baptist. And Kennesaw State is taking on the alma mater of WRBL's Rex Castillo as they are taking on the Roadrunners of UTSA down in San Antonio. As Kennesaw State making their FBS debut in the Conference USA. It is the first year of Kennesaw State in the Conference USA, and according to a lot of magazines, they are projected to be the worst college football team in FBS. Pump your brakes on that because it's Kennesaw State, it's the North Metro Atlanta area, a lot of great talent in Atlanta. I think Kennesaw State could surprise some people. And Georgia Southern is hosting Boise State, which I think Boise State could be one of the group of 5 teams that could make the college football playoff. Some local news, the Heritage Bowl moves back to A.J. McClung where it belongs. They were at Kinnett, now they're at A.J. McClung. They figured out the lighting situation. Good for them, because it needs to be at A.J. McClung because of the tradition, the tailgating. You got to keep some traditions alive. That is one tradition. The Carver-Spencer game needs to be at A.J. McClung. It will be there August the 23rd. Just looking across the scoreboards, we have a volleyball game on Thursday, Pacelli taking on Shaw. That game you can catch on Georgia Alabama Sports Live, as I will make my volleyball debut as a play-by-play announcer. And I have researched volleyball. I've never called volleyball. I've researched volleyball on YouTube and on the Olympics, and so I'm excited about being on the call for that. We do have another volleyball game as Northside is taking on Brookstone. And then we also have a softball game on Georgia Alabama Sports Live as Rick Beach will be on the call. Brandon Schwobel will be there as a producer. Harris County taking on Columbus. And we're going to ahead and get that schedule for you, as I was looking at some of the other teams that have softball teams in the GHSA. Carver's taking on Spencer on August the 27th. We got Hardaway taking on Manchester on August the 12th. And we have Jordan taking on Hardaway on August the 20th. Shaw taking on Hardaway August the 22nd. So you got the Hardaway softball team coached by their baseball coach, Coach Eric Anthony. And we promise we'll get out to some of these schools and we'll be live streaming some softball games in the GHSA and in the GIAA as well. All right, well, let's go ahead and take that first break, and when we come back, I will go ahead and wrap up the show, and we'll get ready for Ben Carr, the PGA Tour member, the Columbus Blue Devil. He is going to be joining the show. You don't want to go anywhere. It is the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge, presented by Georgia Alabama Sports Live, and we'll be right back.
You're watching right now the Georgia Alabama Sports Live show that is presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. Get ready to smile. We'll be right back after this.
Check out these great offers at Glenn Smith and Opelika.
At Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika, you can own one of the best-selling vehicles in the USA, the GMC Sierra pickup. Right now, discounted up to $15,500 off. The roomy and comfortable compact SUV, the GMC Terrain, is up to $7,750 off.
Choose from over 400 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way to Glenn Smith and Opelika. Get ready to smile.
And welcome back here to the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge, presented by Georgia Alabama Sports Live. I cannot believe that we are 8 days away from the start of high school football. The Corky Kell Classic at Kell High School in Marietta, Georgia, will feature the LaGrange Grangers, a team that went to the second round of the playoffs and lost to Benedictine last year. Coach Matt Napier, Malachi Fanning Renders coming back from injury. They are taking on Douglas of Atlanta. Troup County is on the road taking on Villa Rica. That's going to be on Friday. And Callaway is in the Corky Kell Classic taking on Cass. So all those teams up there. And we've got an incredible slate of games on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. Rick Beach from Kutsu Sports is going to be up in Manchester as Harris County taking on Manchester for the first time in 25 years. A rivalry renewed. Manchester has one of the top defensive tackles in the country, Justice Terry. You got that Harris County O-line. You got Rian Ogletree coming back. They did lose their quarterback Levi Watson and Matei Yeomans, but that is going to be an incredible matchup as Manchester led by their first-year coach, DeMonte Prather. Remember, Coach Holmes is now at Pike County. So you have DeMonte Prather, who's the assistant coach, taking over for Coach Holmes, and they went to the state championship last year, and Manchester has got to be one of the favorites to go back and possibly even win it. And they're going to be in a new region. They don't have to play Schley County in their region, but they got to play Bowden. So they were up in a different reclassification, new region rather. They're actually still in Class 1A Division II. And Harris County going down to 4A, but all the classifications have moved down a level because there's no more 7A. There are two matches in the state of Georgia I do want to talk about. that has gotten some national attention. Buford taking on Milton. This is going to be an incredible game. I think GPB Sports is going to be broadcasting that, and then Collins Hill taking on Grayson. Those are the two big games for week 1, the week of August the 15th, 16th, that Friday, August the 16th. So we'll be at Manchester for Harris County, Manchester. I'll be on the call for Calvary Christian in Terrell County. Calvary making their GIAA debut, taking on a GHSA school in Terrell County that went 5-5 last year. They are in Class Division 1, Class 1, out of Dawson, Georgia, just about an hour down the road of Columbus. And Thrift Behringer will be at Kinnett Stadium for Shaw and Northside. Shaw's second-year coach, Johnny Gardner, going up against Coach Andrew Orpeza for the Northside Patriots. A rivalry that really speaks for itself. It's the Battle of North Columbus. Shaw was dominant in the early 2000s. Northside had their biggest run in the state playoffs 2 years ago when they went to the second round. Great running backs like Malachi Hosley. Now they have Kingston Rivers and Jay Jackson. Caden Clay, third year under this system. He did play as a freshman when he started for Coach Orpeza on the varsity, but now he is the full-time starter for the past 3 seasons. And I cannot wait for this game. All 3 games you can catch on Georgia-Alabama Sports Live. Some of the other games. And I made this graphic. I'm going to go ahead and pull this graphic up for you. All right. As you can see, Terrell County taking on Calvary. You got Carver hosting Whitewater. Whitewater is a school that went down to 3A. They are in Fayetteville. They've always had a tradition of being a powerhouse, even when they were in 5A, along with Stars Mill, but they missed the playoffs last year after going 5-5. They were in a very tough region with Trinity Christian, LaGrange, Troup County, and Stars Mill. But they are playing Carver at Otis Spencer Stadium on Friday, August the 16th. Spencer is on the road taking on Dooley County. Dooley County was a team that lost to Bowden in the quarterfinals. They went 8-5 last year with a 5-0 record. Brookstone on the road taking on Tatnall Square, who had a disappointing season. Tatnall went 5-7, and they lost to FPD in the second round of the playoffs. Stratford Academy is going to be at Dimel Field taking on St. Anne Pacelli. Remember, this was the rematch of the 2022 GIAA State Championship, and Pacelli was able to get the win over Stratford last season. Stratford had a very disappointing 5-6 season. They started out 3-0, and then they ended up losing to Pacelli and Brookstone, and that really rode the ship for Stratford Academy. The Columbus Blue Devils, under their first-year head coach, Robert Peters, he has taken over for the long-tenured coach, Phil Marino, for the Columbus Blue Devils. They are going to be all the way down in Colquitt, taking on Miller County. Kendrick is on the road, taking on a school that was in the Gaps last year, and the Walker School is now in Class A Division I. And Kendrick is going to be up in Atlanta. Their new head coach is head coach Emmanuel Brown. And the Jordan Red Jackets have a new head football coach, Aaron McDaniel, who has taken over for Coach Cadell Jenkins. They are going to be on the road taking on Bremen. And finally, the Hardaway Hawks, led by their second-year coach, Ryan McKenzie, they are going to be on the road taking on Jackson. Some of the other teams that have not put up on this graphic, McIntosh is going to be on the road taking on Fayette County. Macon County out of Montezuma. Big shout-out to Coach McKenzie's alma mater as they are taking on Southwest out of Macon. A big shout-out to Columbus Lions quarterback Marcus Brooks, as that is his alma mater. Landmark Christian is hosting Kip Academy. You have Stars Mill that is taking on Northgate. So you have a team out of Fayetteville taking on a team out of Noonan. And that's a pretty good matchup there. And we also have, that is Upson is taking on Union Grove. And I will try to get, when we get into the season, I will have score updates. I will run down scores, and I will also preview the next week. So let me go ahead and take that graphic down. So on this show, as you could see, this show will be aired on Georgia Alabama Sports Live Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. I'm going to go ahead and sign off here because we got to get ready for Ben Carr. He is coming on the show. That is going to air at 6 o'clock here on the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge. I want to thank Chris Gates for that incredible introduction. I want to thank Thrift Barringer for giving me this opportunity on this platform. To everybody at Georgia Alabama Sports Live, I mean, we have such a great team. I think that Friday was one of those nights where it really got real. It is because there were 9 of us, and we are all on the same team, and then we have a very common goal. I'm talking to Chris Gates, Toygar, Brandon Schwobel, Bain, our producers, our sports personalities, Rick Beach, Noah Shelton, Thrift Barringer, and myself. Don't forget, at 7 o'clock, we got the Harris County Coaches Show. Rick Beach is interviewing the softball coach of Harris County, Brandon Jenkins. And then we'll have Glenwood Media Day tomorrow at 5. And then we also will have Harris County Media Day Friday at 4. Calvary Media Day will be Saturday at, I want to say, I'll get a time for you there. And then don't forget, the debut of the Kutsu Sports Show with Rick Beach, just called Kutsu Sports, will air on Georgia Alabama Sports Live on Sunday. And then Thrift Barringer and I will be back for the Georgia Alabama Sports Live following the Kutsu Sports Show. So for everybody at Georgia Alabama Sports Live, this is Richard Holdridge signing off. Have a great rest of your night. Enjoy the rest of the Olympics, the high school football, the Falcons preseason game against the Dolphins on Friday. And then as I continue doing these shows throughout the week, we will just continue hitting the ground running, just knocking out high school football, college football, the NFL, talking a little volleyball, high school softball, you name it. We'll cover it right here on the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge. Have a great rest of your night.